Hello, I'm Valerie McLennan. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. This is my spiritual channel, Valerie Mac, Scottish, spiritual, and very funny, allegedly. Now, if you've been following me a while, thank you very much, and I hope you continue to listen and to share my journey on planet Earth. And if you're a new listener, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy. And please revert back to previous podcasts to give you some idea of my delivery style and my humour, etc. Everything I discuss is from my own personal perspective in life, my own understanding regarding spirituality, and I share stories from my own life to make you laugh. Sometimes I even burst into song, surprising myself. I do. And I just try and lighten the mood. It's all spiritually based. The wisdom is there. And I incorporate it, as I said, with humour to just get the message across in my own unique style. Listen to her. That is the intention of a podcast, for you to listen to me. Thanking you very much. Now, I'm going to keep it quite light this evening. There is wisdom going through each and every word. But I wanted to lighten up just a tad, because many in life, each and every one of us, are facing challenges like never before. We will all face it, as I keep saying, from the minute we enter Earth until we leave. Each and every one of us will have to face challenges. That is just a fact. We will be, facing them at different times. So all we can at least try and do is to encourage each other in the interim. You know what I mean? I have faced many, many challenges in my own life. Don't want to sound too dramatic, but I have gone through quite a lot of challenges since I arrived on Earth. And all I'm doing now is actually using what I've known, what I've come through, and what I've learned in the hope of helping you. I would have loved to have known someone like me when I was going through those challenges. I most certainly would. Now, I hope you appreciate me. I do. Listen to her. I am being serious, thank you very much. When I was facing all of my challenges in life, I would actually have loved to have, maybe just hear other people's, experiences, what others are going through. This is, I'm not unique. We all like to get comfort and, just hear other people's experiences in life so that you feel as if you're not alone. You're not the only person on earth who has gone through different challenges. And I feel personally, I like the kind of empathy from others if I'm sharing things, and I like that. So that's what I'm giving on here. So there you are. And I hope you appreciate my efforts. Oh, we do. Thank you. Now, this evening, I'm going to keep it light, as I said. I have... if you've been following me a while, you'll find this a tad repetitive. I had a channel prior to this one. I've been doing this a couple of years. So quite a high majority of my podcasts are still on the other channel. And I've still to transfer them over. But sometimes I can't recall what I called it, the title of a particular podcast. Now, like this evening, can't recall the title of the podcast, but I remember people enjoyed this. So I'm going to kind of repeat couple of the stories that I had on maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. So if you've been following me a while, possible you've maybe forgotten. But if it sounds familiar, just go along with it. As I said, I may say this more than once, I may say it twice. So if you could just go with me, it's to save me trying to search to find this. And I know people enjoyed it time. Da-di-da-di-da. Thanking you. It's actually quite lighthearted. And it's, it amuses me, different podcasts that people kind of tune into and laugh at. But then again, I find that our humour, or whatever we're attracted to in life, comes from our own experiences, where we are, and parts of our character. So I might say something and it just kind of rings a bell in your head and you remember an experience in your past, or even today. Maybe it was today. So there is nothing better, nothing more healing in life than sharing stories and seeing yourself in my words, even if it was embarrassing. Who knows? Now that's all I want to say on that point. And now, where was I? Oh, back to where I was. Now, this is a story, as I said, you possibly heard it maybe a couple of years ago, and it's so fun. It's so insignificant, but it's funny. You get my drift? Get on with it. I most certainly am. Now, there was a woman that I know. I was going to say I know. I still know this woman. I think she's just got over the embarrassment now. It was a couple of years ago. Now, it was at that time I mentioned it in the past where all of a sudden I noticed everyone seemed to be saying, love you, love you, love you. Everyone was loving, and you hear younger people, everyone, when they're going away, normally called me old fashioned. We used to say bye and cheerio, cheerio, or bye bye, or something. Oh no, love you. So everyone seems to have moved into the love you kind of thing. Anyway, very casual, isn't it? Love you. Anyway, so this woman, well, she's a mother and she has, different ranges of children, not children, but kind of grown-ups in the house. So this is all she was hearing. And she was immersed in hearing, maybe younger ones speaking to their friends or speaking to what. So all she was hearing all the time, like an echo in the house, was love you, when they were going away, when they're hanging up, I love you, love you. And she says, oh, so she wasn't aware of it seeping and absorbing into her being until she was out one day on a bus. Oh no, exactly. The mother was on a bus and she was getting off a said bus and it was absolutely packed. I know, she said that herself. She said if it had even been quiet, oh no, if you're going to be humiliated, make the audience, a packed bus. And she came off. And when people tend to, if they're getting off a bus, they tend to say, thank you, driver, or thank you, or something. If you're polite, thank you very much, or thank you, or something. Well, she did not. She most certainly did. She went to step off the bus, and instead of saying thank you, she was so immersed in their world that she shouted, love you, love you, to the driver. Now, the driver was impressed. The driver started to laugh. And I think some of the people in the bus, started to laugh. And this, my point in the story is how our character then kicks in, So she started to over-egg her pudding. And she said, in hindsight, I should have just kind of left it there because I think the driver laughed and said, thank you. She's probably said, I didn't even know you cared. But anyway, so she, instead of just kind of going, aha, and laughing at it and walking off, oh no, she turned around and started trying to explain herself to the packed bus and the driver. So she started shouting back, oh, for goodness sake, I'm in this house and this is everyone, all I hear all day is all them talk, they all talk to friends and everybody's love you, love you, love you. It's in my head, oh, for goodness sake, I didn't mean that. I obviously just, can you imagine the driver? He's probably saying, I'm late now. I'm running late now. Could you just get off the bus? So she shouted, I just said that by mistake. I obviously meant bye. For goodness sake, what am I like? Oh, anyway. So she made it 100 times worse. So the one sentence she said, maybe only a couple of the people in the bus had heard it, but then she turned around to correct it and magnified it 100-fold so that the entire bus was hearing her. And I said that to her after, you know me, I said, for goodness sake, it was probably just the driver and maybe one person had heard it, and now the whole bus were laughing. Oh, for goodness sake. So anyway, she was saying, imagine, so trying to correct herself, she made it worse. So anyway, to this day, that was a couple of years ago, and to this day we still laugh. Every time we see her, love you, driver. And now, see everything in life eventually becomes my fault. It is, from the weather. You know how there's some people in life, no matter what happens to them, suddenly it becomes my fault. I know. I've noticed this a lot over the years. Well, even happened with her on the bus. I wasn't even with her on a bus. I wasn't even anywhere. She was telling me the story. It's quite funny. So when she was relaying it to me, I thought, it's not as if she doesn't know me. It's not as if she doesn't know my character, where I will find humour in that. So she wasn't telling this to a stranger. She knows my reaction. She knows the way I'm likely to react. So why give me the story if you don't want my reaction? Right? So you know me. So I started doing the, oh, love you, drive. Goodness sake. Anyway, so when I was seeing how embarrassed she was, I thought, okay. So then, trying to be nice and kind and caring and spiritual, I turned it the other way. And I said to her, oh, for goodness sake, don't be ridiculous. The driver would have just laughed that off. You probably made his day. Well, think of some of the things people say to the blinking bus driver. The worst you said was love you. And I kept my face straight. And I was trying to be kind, kind and compassionate. Do you know the thanks I got? What, Valerie? Do you know the thanks I got, Anna? She spun it right round. Oh, yeah. Like you wouldn't have cared if you told the bus driver you loved them. Suddenly I'm getting dragged into all of this, and I says, well, and I was trying to keep my face. I was trying to help her again. So the second time I said, well, he would have just laughed it off. He would have just laughed it off and moved again. comes back again to me. Well, you wouldn't have laughed it off if it was you. If you had said to the bus driver, love you, you wouldn't be as calm and as cool as you're making out just now. Right? So then I thought, well, I'm not winning in this situation. Number one, I wasn't even in the same town when she said that to the driver. So then I thought, right, I'm not winning in this tack. So I turned it the other way and I laughed in her face. I laughed in her face and I said, well, I wouldn't have told a bus driver I loved him for a start. Anyway, now the whole point, we can laugh now. Well, I laughed then. I think she can laugh now. 2 years ago. And I said, I liked the way it was suddenly becoming my fault that you told the bus driver you loved him. So anyway, she's not got over it because every time, any of us see her now, we go, I love you, driver. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. But my point being, can you see the character traits in people? Instead, I was saying to her, personal responsibility. Laugh it off. It was a funny situation. Don't try and blame everybody. She blamed me for laughing. She blamed me that I wouldn't have laughed if I had said that to the driver. Do you know what I mean? And I said, for goodness sake. Anyway, she laughs now. She said, I don't care. It was borderline hysterical. And I said, there was no borderline in it, madam. You were kind of hysterical. Now, that was all. I just wanted to, have you ever told the bus driver you loved him? Have you? I know. I was saying that trying to comfort her. I said, can you imagine some of the things a bus driver or any driver has to hear in a day? I suppose somebody saying that by accident, instead of cheerio. Cheerio. He was probably just expecting the same, call me old-fashioned. He probably expected the same, thank you, driver. Anyway, that was me. What have you been up to? Tell me, what have you been doing? Have you been behaving? Have you been carrying on the car? What a nightmare. Now, the other thing I was going to say, I mentioned it the other day, briefly. I know some people have picked this up and I've been speaking to them since, and I was kidding on. I'm saying I'm not mega claustrophobic. That kind of thing. In my previous, if you don't know what I'm talking about, kindly revert back to my previous podcast. I just mentioned, I wouldn't, if I had a choice in life, I wouldn't choose to be stuck in a lift. Who would? I didn't think I was being outrageous saying that. So anyway, I moved on from there and I suddenly remembered in one of the podcasts I was trying to get to put back on here that I couldn't find. Are you following this? Oh no. There's had a busy day. I can't follow her story. Can you? Neither can I. This is one of the ones I was talking about. It's along the lines, the kind of, not claustrophobia, but that kind of thing. I was at a function. I'll not go into the full detail this time. I was at a little function. This is years ago. And one of the women who was there now has passed away. Well, actually, both of the women have now passed away. And it was one of them was quite nervous and hated being in a situation where it was very, very quiet. That thing. And when I was younger, I didn't really, even now at this age of nearly 40, if I'm in a really awkward situation, I've got that thing where I want to laugh. I don't know. Don't blame me. I don't know what it is. I just want to laugh. And it's one of those things, if I was out, if somebody told me somewhere in normal circumstances, I wouldn't find it funny. But then, plant me in the middle of a church or in the middle of a funeral, and suddenly I seem to want to find it, the slightest thing, hysterically funny. I don't know what it is. Anyway, the couple of people that were with me at this said event, and it was actually a funeral. It was a funeral. That's why I'm glossing over some of the facts. It was a funeral, but it wasn't anyone very, very close. That doesn't make any difference. I know. I'm just trying, in case anyone I know is listening, saying, for goodness sake. No, it wasn't any kind of close family or any close. It wasn't anything like that. But it was a funeral all the same. And the couple of people I was with, one was more kind of didn't really like being stuck in it anywhere quiet. And I was very well aware of this. So I was kind of sensing if she was kind of getting awkward in the seat. Now, can you imagine the trio at this funeral? The one in the middle didn't like really being in a room, and we ended up kind of further back than we hoped to be. Oh, no, sorry, further at the front, nearer the front than we should have been, probably. And so this was even worse because she didn't like, there was no escape route, put it that way. So I could feel her kind of sitting beside me, feeling all nervous and all stressed. And I'm thinking, oh, for goodness sake. And I'm trying not to laugh. What a team. And the other person at the other side, I had already said to the third person, you might remember all this, because I did this last year. The third person, I'd said, don't even look at me. Do not make eye contact with me. Because you might keep in mind, this was many years ago. I'd probably be the same today. I would. I said, don't even look at my face. Don't make eye contact with me because I will laugh. But what was setting me off was because the person in the middle beside me, that I knew very well, was sitting like an ironing board. She hadn't moved because she was trying not to breathe or move or anything because she was so tense in the situation. So I'm aware of her sitting, and that was setting me off because I thought if I even nudged my elbow, it was like nudging an ironing board, that kind of thing. I thought, goodness sake. So that was making me kind of giggle a tad. So you imagine the situation. I'm sitting there trying not to laugh. The one beside me is frozen, literally frozen to the spot. I couldn't even hear her breathing. I couldn't see her moving, nothing. It was like a statue. And that was making me laugh. And then I was trying not to look because they were at my left-hand side. So I was on the end on my right. So if I turned around, the two of them were at that side. So I couldn't turn around because if I look at the frozen woman, I would have started laughing out loud. But then I tried to ignore the one in the middle who was frozen to the spot. And then I said to the other one, don't even look at me. So she was very well aware of not looking at me. Now, it's funny in those situations where you're hypersensitive to anything. And I glanced very, very quickly. I thought, I'll not look at the middle one because she's like a statue. But I could feel, do you know that way when you can feel someone looking at you? I just knew, I could feel her looking at me, the one I said, don't look at me. And I slowly turned my head. I can still remember as if it was yesterday. I slowly turned my head to my left. And as I turned my head, she pulled her eyes away like, and that set me off because I thought she'd have been better just looking at me because I could see her pulling her eyes away because I said, don't look at me because I started laughing. So she was frozen to the spot because she knew the one in the middle was frozen. She was trying not to look at the one in the middle because she knew she was ready to have a thingy on the floor. She looked at me and she thought, well, I can't even look at you because you're going to start laughing. What kind of two people is this? And I was the same. And I says, well, you two were no better. I had the frozen woman in the middle and I tried to look at you and you pulled your eyes away 1,000 miles an hour and made me laugh. Well, I started to laugh, but it was one of those inward laughs where you're shaking, your whole body's shaking. And so between me shaking like that, trying not to laugh, I had a woman in the middle who was like a statue, frozen to the spot. And the other one at the end was just keeping her composure because she thought those two, what a state. Look at these two. And the third thing that happened nearly finished us off. I crossed my leg and my foot kicked the foot of the frozen woman. This is my point. My wee foot kicked, I just crossed it at the exact same time as the frozen woman decided to cross her leg. And that was the first time she'd moved in about half an hour. I hadn't even heard her breathing. And in the split second, she hadn't moved. And the split second, the two of us crossed her leg at the same time. And my shoe hit her shoe. Well, I think we were nearly carried out. The three of us laughed inwardly, not outwardly. But you know, when we came out of there, we were saying, see if all of that had happened anywhere else, like in a supermarket, in the street or anywhere, we wouldn't even have laughed. We wouldn't even have found it that funny. And you're saying, I know the feeling. But see when you're trapped, like in a funeral situation or a church or anywhere, because a library, I've not been in a library for 1,000 years, but you know, somewhere like that where you have to be very, very quiet. There's something all of a sudden sets me in hysterics, and I find it really, really, really funny. Anyway, so that was him. So that was us between Love You Driver. I wonder if he's still listening. I knew that woman who said that to you. Did you get over it? That was quite funny. Did it make your day? Anyway, I'll better not bring up. If she's listening, she'll be, oh, that's me back in therapy tomorrow. Anyway, just wanted to give you a laugh. Thank you for listening. Look after each other. Take care for now. Bye-bye.